Good day, class. Let's now learn lesson 2 of this particular unit, core values of communication. So in the previous lesson, we were able to understand what are the basic concepts and goals of communication as well as the scope of communication. Unsa ang mga nagkadaiyang nga mga communication. Hence, we were able to learn that there is intrapersonal, interpersonal communication, organizational communication, and so on and so forth, and all of those things. So this time, let's try to understand the different core values of communication. Now, bear with me as we go along with this discussion. Make sure that you're going to jot down important notes and topics that will become very useful as we have our discussion for this lesson. Now, let's continue with this concept. I want you to understand that communication processes have varying intentions and goals, but all must uphold and recognize the values of communication. Though a communication process entails, right, having different intentions and goals of that particular process, the communication process, we must always uphold and recognize that there are values in communication or values of communication that must be observed and preserved at all times, especially when we are doing very important, right, communication or communicating very important matters to people. That is why we have the main objective of this particular lesson is to identify and understand the core values of communication. Now, speaking of core values of communication, a very essential question comes to mind for all of us. Unsa may relevance sa paghibalo sa core values sa communication? Unsa may gamit ani sa tua? Nowadays, communication is as vital as breathing. It's a given fact. Labi na karon that we have so many platforms, so many avenues of communication to make available the different information, the different news, the different updates, and most of all, history in the previous times or the previous decades and years. Aduna na siya pirmi available online, which is communication in itself because it is communicating to us truths and facts that has happened, whether at present or decades, generations ago. Now, unsa may pulos ani? Unsa may relevance sa paghibaw or knowing the core values of communication? Remember, we are not free individuals in this society. We need to uphold certain norms and standards in order for us to live harmoniously, progressively, despite the diverse beliefs, practices, and cultures that we have. We need to understand what are the core values that we must uphold, especially during the communication process. Hence, we identify the core values of communication. I will be giving you 5 out of the vast and many core values of communication. First is media freedom. Let's now talk about freedom. Atuang kalayaan in Filipino or ang atuang kagawasan, whatever you want to call it, freedom. Media freedom. Our right to express ideas, beliefs, and views about the world. Everything and anything under the heat of the sun, we can express it. Atuan ng katungod, it is our right. It is important for any democratic society. That's a given fact. It is very important for a democratic society to prosper, to linger the thought of giving instructions, giving informations, and giving your reactions to those instructions, informations, policies, rules, regulations, and programs that will make sure that we uphold harmoniously, right, our rights and our responsibilities, our obligations. Now, when talking about media freedom, this is also our right to research and have enough information. Since we discussed and we touched about media freedom being important for a democratic society, media freedom now talks as well about our right to research and have enough information about a particular topic that you would like to learn. However, we should not disregard the absence of censorship. We should also highlight what comes when we talk about censorship. Now, media freedom, class, is not absolute. Freedom is not absolute. People still must follow natural, divine, criminal, civil, statutory, or common law. Meaning to say, with media freedom comes great responsibility and accountability. It is not absolute. The context of freedom is not absolute. Labi nag media freedom. Muna, we should still follow and adhere natural, divine, criminal, civil, statutory, or common laws. Because where your right begins, or where the right of others begin, your right ends. So their right to express ideas, beliefs, and views about the world is also very valid. The right to research and have enough information is also very much acknowledged. But then again, your right ends when the right of others begin. Therefore, we must set parameters or precautions kung asa rataman, or no, not precautions, limitations kung asa rataman ang imuhang katungod. Right? Therefore, we must still follow different laws, be it natural, divine, criminal, civil, or common law. Because freedom, in its essence, is not absolute. So there is a touch of philosophy in there, no? Pero it is a given because naapod yun na siya. It is not only in the law, but it should be our sentido común that with media freedom, there still must be the upholding of different, right, standards in order for us to have information dissemination or communication in a very healthy and progressive manner. Now, again, what is media freedom? Unsa may atong nasabtan when we explain what is media freedom, how do we put it into our own words? That's going to be your first assignment, okay? So take note of that. Take note of the discussions that we've made. Another core value of communication, class, is media equality. Sir, how can we be equal in social media? Ang uban iPhone, ang uban kanang dili Android lang. That's not the point of media equality. Media equality refers to having no special favor by the media for those in power or in position. Meaning to say, whoever is in power, masing kinsa pa man nga Poncio Pilato ang naa sa helm of power and influence, let's say in the government, in the corporate sector, or wherever, the media should not give any special favors, should not kiss particular asses, because then again, there should be media equality, wherein with media equality, we are able to express criticism. We are able to express to criticism and to question why things are like they are. Now, before I continue, if there are popping notifications in this particular lecture, kindly disregard it because I cannot control the messages that may pop in social media. Now, going back to the discussion of media equality. Again, it should not favor any particular individual or group of individual or a particular organization that is in power or in position. Hence, we must be able to express criticism and to give our comments, suggestions, or question where a particular program, individual funding, whatever it is, happens so and so. Right? That's media equality. Now, with media equality, this is linked to media diversity in the context that there must be non-discriminatory. Meaning to say, access of information must be available to all. And when I say all, class, it should not have any discriminations as to your age, gender, religious preference, tribal affiliation, so on and so forth. Of course, that is being practiced on social media, more notably Facebook. Muna bitaw, I am very bothered aning mga posts on Facebook that show pictures of dead people, pictures of dead aning mangibaw jud ko balibo, di ko ganahan jud. And everybody gets access. As long as imong edad is mo fit silang qualification and everybody can screw around with how old they are on social media, which is something I do not like because it should, it's a given. It has been debated. Pero para lang sa ako, my own honest opinion about it or my own honest, unsolicited opinion about it is that Why make it available to people who do not know how to process these information, hence misleading these people to having different perspectives, different mindsets, different opinions? Daghan kaayo ang mapariwara just because of the perspective that they form or that is formed out of their exposure in social media. But then again, it is non-discriminatory. Mo bitaw na nga, when we talk about social media usage, it is use at your own risk. Use according to your own responsibility and sense of accountability. That's why it is as much as possible made available to all. Now, when talking about media equality, we've already touched about media diversity, meaning non-discriminatory. Always think about that concept. Kung mayon taog media diversity, it should always be non-discriminatory. Meaning to say, walay tihik-tihik, walay panigan, walay discriminate, walay limitahan because it is available to all. Now let's talk about media diversity. Media diversity has several benefits. Among the few are that follows: social and cultural change and less conflict. Because if there is inclusivity in our society, then there will be changes in the way things work and there will be lesser conflict if we can find a silver lining that is thick enough for us to be able to communicate, to understand, to live with the differences, to live with the diversities that we have, and most of all, to acknowledge and accept the limitations that other people, events, phenomena, circumstances may present along the way. Remember, nothing is perfect. Though we achieve or we aim for a standard that is excellent, that is presentable and doable, but then again, nothing is perfect. So kaning benefits of media diversity nga ginaingon class, social and cultural change and less conflict, there is a very wide, dako pa kayo nga hisgutanan in the center of this before we achieve lesser conflict. Because then again, with media diversity, there should also come respect. And most of all, understanding of where they are coming from as an individual, as a group of individual, or as an organization in general. Let's try to relate it into our present times. So many, just like in the picture shown in the presentation, there are so many colors nowadays. There is blue, there is pink, there is red, there is green, there is so many. Then again, how can we have inclusivity if none of us gets to respect the fight or the advocacies, the messages that are being communicated to us? And how can we respect if these messages, these causes, these advocacies are being communicated in a very unhealthy manner? Try to think about that. When we talk about media diversity, yes, this is non-discriminatory, but then again, think about how we can live with one another without being jerks and assholes. How can we have lesser conflict kung with the diversity that we have present in the communication process at doon na may daghang conflict mahitabo? You just show, or kanila gyud, I'll give you a context. You're on social media. You show that you are pink, everybody lambasts you, or there are people that will lambast you. You show that you are red, people will also ridicule you and call you bobo for supporting a particular individual, so on and so forth. Meaning to say, there is no lesser conflict if you show, what particular idea, thought, belief, principle you have. But then again, one of the benefits, few of the benefits that should be affiliated to media diversity is inclusivity that involves social and cultural change and lesser conflict. Meaning to say, og sa yano pa nga pagkastorya, why pakialamay? Kay og ko maghisgutaan ni nga aspeto nga matang, it will all lead to either, in the ballot boxes or in the balota nimo sa election, or it will lead to how you live your life. If you're not talking about politics, it will lead to how you live your life. So better let people be as long as they follow, right, the natural, divine, criminal, civil, so on and so forth laws, and they live accordingly. Nga di sila magsamok sa tao. Now, There is media diversity when there are different media firms and producers, most of all, varying genres, style, taste, and format. So that's what we mean with media diversity. Makita nato na siya kung naay nagkadaiya, lahi-lahi na media firms and producers, ug nagkadaiya na genre, style, taste, and format of a particular product. Now, why is it important to have equality and diversity in the media? Talking about the communication process, nganong importante man nga aduna tay equality amidst the diversity in media? Try to think about that and jot it down as an answer. What do you think is the reason? Nganong importante na siya? Right? Fourth, core value of communication. We have truth and information quality, something that is less or absent nowadays. There are benefits of truth and quality information. First, we get to be informed and become skilled people. And this is the basis for democratic decision making that ultimately should possess and should develop critical thinking. Now, if we are informed people, if we are skilled people, this now becomes our basis for democratic decision making. We know how to filter, we know how to regulate, and we know how to analyze. Ultimately, that is already critical thinking in its essence. So if a particular group poses a news, kailangan kay bawta unsa ginahitabo behind the scenes. Kay bawta what are the skills that are necessary for us to have or to attain critical level of thinking. Dili kay kung sino makita sa social media, you share it, you retweet it, you post it. That's something that is being done. Let's all be honest, guilty tatanan ana at some point. But then again, there is always a point of change and a point of improvement on being a critical thinker. So, it's a very important core value of communication, truth and information quality. Next, social order and solidarity. Media must educate the people of their differences and similarities to lessen the conflict. Sama sa kung giingon kaganiha, one of the goals of attaining understanding the core values of communication is to have lesser conflict. Mo gani mag-communicate ta kay para dili mo daghan or dili mo tingbabaw ang kalibog sa tong utok, ang confusions, ang mga conflicts o ang mga challenges. Now with that being said, media now should be used as a platform to educate people sa ilahang mga nagkaraiya ng mga beliefs o mga nagkapareha ng mga sentimiento, leading or resulting to lesser conflict. Now, with social order and solidarity as a core value of communication, it provides communication among groups and gives attention to the minority and disadvantaged individuals and groups. Meaning to say, it is now outstretched from the majority and the minority. It should give or provide communication among these groups that will pay attention to what are really important, right? And that is those who are already at the peak of a particular goal for it to be consistently maintained, and those who are having difficulties because they are less disadvantaged or they really have difficulties that needs assistance para pod matabangan sila. So that is one of the goal of having social order and solidarity in communication. Another is cultural order. Cultural order as a core value of communication provides information to the people about culture and subcultures of the society. With the provision of cultures and subcultures of society, there must always be the understanding of acceptance and living within or living along with these people that are different. Lahi-lahi matag kultura. Muna bitaw nga I don't like the stereotypes. Nga kesyo kung reggae ka, adik ka, kung nakitattoo, adik ka. It's something that is talking about culture and you are tackling something that is illegal. Layo ra jud kay siya kung buto naon. Not only because it is stereotyped and it is messed up. Kanilang yun. Ingon sila, kani daw may mga daghag tattoo, mura daw gikag prisuhan. Duha man naka perspective. Natural, kanang nasa prisuhan, they have time in their hands. Kigikulong man mo sila. So what they will do, it's either they work out, either they repent on their sins, they have character development, or others just embrace the solitary confinements and then, provide meaning to their time there. Now, in providing meaning, there could be a lot of outlets. There could be productive outlets nga nakaton silang skill while inside jail, or nagpatato sila to express their feelings and emotions, thoughts and principles. So I don't see the problem of people that have many tattoos. Being one myself, di na ko makita ang problema. Because in the sense, dili lang man ka piniriso kung nagan kag tato. Di daw mag-inignorante, pwede ba? Tattooing has been a common form of cultural expression since the ancient times. Years, hundreds, and even thousands of years, nananay tattooing for your identity, for your manifestation of cultural beliefs, practices. So why the hell would you tell na kaning mga tao nga daghang tattoo gikag prisuhan? Who is intellectually malnourished? Those who came from prison or you? Giving these comments that are very, very nonsense, right? Naagid na siya always. Cultural order will never be attained, or lain po mo yung tag, will never be, or will always find difficulties and challenges because of, right, the lack of people to accept different cultures and subcultures of a particular society. Mao na nga one of the values of communication is to provide information about the people of the culture and subcultures in society. Again, one of the goals of communication is to live harmoniously. So, respeto ay lang, whatever you want, hip-hopper ka, classical, imong gusto nga genre sa music, you are a rock star, whatever it is. Brusko ka, hinayon ka, nga pagkalalaki, whatever it is. Those are cultures and subcultures. As long as there is no illegal and harmful things, we can always filter how we perceive other people. But of course, napag yung mas lawom nga perspective, ana. But then again, we make it a goal or we make it a core value of communication wherein we need to provide information to people about the different cultures and subcultures of society. Here is a very interesting take. The last core value of communication that we are going to discuss. Media accountability. Media accountability talks about being responsible for one's action. Sama sa kung giingon kaganiha, if you were a sharer or a peddler of fake news, unknowingly or knowingly, you can always change it. The first step of changing that behavior is to having accountability of that particular action. You need to be honest about it, be accountable, say you're sorry, and learn. Learn how to change that, learn how to filter and analyze the information that you give, in order for your actions to be responsible the next time around. Muna nga, when we talk about media accountability, it states that media practitioners are responsible for what they share, publish, talk about, post, or produce. So it does not also confine to the idea nga, kung di ka media practitioner, di po ka responsible about the things that I just said. Everybody is responsible. Galing lang, if you are really practicing, or if you're really a media professional, communication professional, then it is a very important and big responsibility that you share, publish, talk about, post, or produce with responsibility and accountability. Media practitioners must know how to face consequences of their errors. This is the essence of accountability. Kung nagkamali ka, you apologize, you face it straightforward. Kumbaga, you face the music. If it is not really your fault, you also learn how to face the music. You need to defend yourself and to make sure that everything is crystal clear, black and white. Nganong ingon ana ang nahitabo. That is showing that you are accountable for your actions or for any involved ventures as a particular media practitioner or as a particular member of our society. Now, let's try to wrap up our discussion with these key points that are very vital in our topic. Media and public communication have 7 known core values, namely media freedom, media equality, media diversity, truth and information quality, and social order and solidarity, cultural order, and media accountability. Media freedom allows people to express, produce, and provide access to information, while media equality allows the public to communicate, public communication to be accessible to everyone. Media diversity gives equal treatment and representation to all cultures and races. Truth and quality information talks about allowing people to be objective and unbiased in presenting information. Social order, solidarity, and cultural order allow the media to maintain order in society and promote and represent a society's cultural heritage. Media accountability enables the media to be held accountable to what they write and produce. Now, with all of these key points with our discussion, how do values of communication affect the progressive movements in media and public communication? Remember that there should be progressive movements in media and public communication. The question, how does these values of communication affect that particular movement? Now, if there are questions, clarifications, or comments with our lesson discussed, make sure to jot them down and present them during our feedbacking. Thank you so much for listening to this discussion.